Oh, look, he's been carrying a sort of bit of a niggling quad for a couple of weeks now, and he's been getting through enough training, but it's just not quite worth the risk, it's just a touch of time off to settle, and it's not worth risking him in a trial match. We'd love him to play, but it's just a bit of a risk to go into a game at this stage.
How much does it weigh on you as a coach having to weigh up the need for this in-game experience versus the risk of injuries? Because we've seen so many injuries already in the preseason.
Yeah, look, all the newer coaches, would probably, like their players to be playing. The clubs that have got a really good bit of a stability, they'd like their players to be playing, but they're sort of the players and the coach and that sort of know what's expected of each other. So, all the guys are just sort of starting the first year, about 5 or so, I think, starting at their new club, so ideally, sort of all your squad playing and in particular key positions. But, as we've noticed in the preseason, there's plenty of clubs picking up a few niggles here and there, and it's just the nature of the game today. But, it's the long-term ones that cause you grief. So thankfully and hopefully Chanel's only, it's only a really minor thing. As I said, he's had a grumble along for a couple of weeks, and we're quite hopefully he'd be able to play, but it's just not quite there. So just give it a miss.
Just looking at the pack, obviously you've put Ben on the bench in favour of Josh Curran. What was the thinking around that for this game?
Oh, look, we've still got to work out how to use Ben. Josh has been with the club now 18 months, and Benny come in from England in the new year, and so how we use Benny early on is probably anyone's guess at the moment. Whether he plays edge or middle or a bit of both, we'll sort of have to determine that in the shorter term. But, longer term, we'll work out what sort of suits Benny and the team best. But Josh has been rewarded. He's had a really good preseason, Josh, and he's got an opportunity to go out there and put everything forward to give himself a good shot of round one.
Sweet, thanks, man.
Nathan, Alex from ZB here, mate. I trust all well's over there. Can we just grab an update on where Ali and Fuss are at with their injuries, please?
Fuss is very mild. There's a possibility of if there was a game next week of playing. If there was a game next week, it'd be a high chance of playing, I would have thought, from what they're telling me. But again, he's got a slight strain. He's a risk if he plays this week. Ellie's roughly where he's expecting. Whether Ellie's fit for round one or round two, I'm not 100% sure. Just have to be guided. Probably know a little bit more about Ellie next week, but thankfully it's not a long-term thing, which is great.
There's been a couple of reports circling about you guys offering Tohu an extension. Are you able to just comment on that, please?
Look, Tohu's obviously a very good, experienced player, and he's obviously, a guy who's still got plenty of life in him, so he's certainly a player we'd like to keep. Where it's all at, I'll leave that with Pete O'Sullivan, all the recruitment stuff, and Pete deals with that. I sort of stick with coach and the team, but he's certainly a player that, from a coach's point of view and a club point of view, we'd love him to stay around. As I said, when you're looking to get a club from where we've been over the previous sort of lot of years to where you want to get to, you certainly want to keep your better players. And Tohu's obviously a very good player. He's got a lot of experience. He's still got plenty of life in him. So in an ideal world, we'll see him stay around for a few more years.
And I know you said you leave those sorts of discussions to Pete O'Sullivan, but what's the latest in your point of view with Jerome Hughes?
I wouldn't be able to begin to tell you, mate. You're best off ask Pete that one.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, mate.
No worries, pal.
Hey Nathan, it's David Long here from Stuff. The camera's not working on this laptop, so unfortunately no one can see me today, which is a great shame. But do you sort of feel with just one trial this season, and then as always, a 2-week break before the first game, it's enough to get to see what you want and to get the guys ready?
Oh, look, again, I think firstly we're all on the same. Every club's starting off the same rules. We're all only allowed to have that one sort of proper trial, so we're all sort of in the same sort of boat there. I suppose all of us coaches that are new to a club, we'd probably, in an ideal world, have a couple because you obviously make changes where the clubs that have been very stable and been successful, they've got the same coaches, so one's probably fine from but as a whole, I think with what's happened to the game last year and how hard the game is today, I think if one trial's what it is, I think it's not a bad thing for the players' welfare, but doesn't mean it's ideal, but it's probably the right thing to do, And
how do you sort of see yourself using Jazz this season?
That's a good question. Yeah, again, some of the things, for myself, being new to the club and the players and, some things, I've got some ideas how we think we might use him, but those things can change too, Dave, like depending on certain things that happen. So, I can't really give 100% guarantee how we'll use him, but I think, he's obviously best foot he's played through the middle part of the field. I'd like to think Jazz has got plenty of great game. He's only a 50 game or a 60 game at the moment. He's, last year, unfortunately, he'd come off some surgery and sort of missed a fair bit of training on footy where, he's sort of come back latter part of this year, but his last month of training's probably been pretty good, I'd say, so I'm quite hopeful of Jazz obviously contributing well, but how it all looks and that, again, being a new coach, we've got some ideas, but these things can change with experience.
Nathan Adams spent a bit of time on the sidelines last year for Manly. How's he looking, firstly? And secondly, is there sort of a different role you think he might play this year, just with the way the game's speeding up a little bit?
Oh, look, Adams looking really good. He had that obviously a bit of a knee problem for Manly last year, and he sort of come to us a little bit, pretty quickly when he sort of signed and when Manly finished. So he's got a fair bit of rehab into him, and he's looked after himself also. He's going really, really well. Adams a player who's obviously contributed very well at Manly in the last number of years he's been there, and as these blokes get more experience, actually, obviously continue to grow as players. Adams coming into a really good age, for an athlete, at 25, 26, where, they start to really understand what their strengths are and what the game's all about. So, we're quite hopeful that Adam, not only is going to play well himself, but he's going to have a really good impact on the team and the football club.
Anyone else there for a question?
Nathan, I'll come back again. What sort of things are you looking for overall from this trial, other than just giving the guys a head out? What sort of signs that you want to see?
Oh, look, we've got some things in offense that we're trying to do and trying to build on some defensive things. So, you'd like to see some of the things that you've practiced throughout the sort of last sort of 8 or 10 weeks. You'd like to see some of those things, start to look like they're starting to bed into the players. That'd be a really, really good start. And, being our only hit out and, playing aside of, we've got a lot of their most of their better players playing as well. You'd like to see that, even though it's a trial, you'd like to see a reasonably competitive sort of clash,